Hello, I'm Corinne Worsley and welcome to the Live on Purpose show. So, I am happy as always to be back here with you for another episode. And in today's episode, what I want to talk to you about is, so what if you've got clarity about what your purpose is? You're pretty damn sure what your purpose is. You've been getting the nudges. You know what you want to do. But for some reason, you find yourself going in circles and not being able to bring your vision to life, not being able to take the action that is going to make your dream into a reality. So, what do you do about that? And why does it happen? And what do you do about that? That is what we are going to be talking about today. And I have personal experience of this because I have had a vision for at least 7 years of what I wanted to create in the world, but I have been going round in teeny weeny tiny little circles for a very long time, or I was going round in tiny circles for a very long time, and I am now starting to bring the biggest vision that I have to life. It's bigger than just coaching. So this podcast is part of that bigger vision. So let's dive in and have a look at what are the reasons that you just haven't managed to bring that vision to life yet. You haven't managed to take that first step, even though you really do have the clarity. So let's start there, actually. What about self-doubt? So, like I said, we can have the clarity, and like I said before, I have personal experience of this. I was not lacking clarity about what I wanted to bring into the world, but I doubted that vision constantly because I was doubting myself. So when you're doubting yourself, then you're going to start to doubt your vision. Doubting whether you're the right person to bring that vision to life. I mean, this was one of the things that I really, my demons, so to speak, which was, I'm not the right person to do this. Surely not me. Surely there's somebody else out there who's way cooler, who's got their shit together way more than I have. You know, I'm still on this journey. I'm still figuring stuff out. Who the hell am I to tell anybody else anything about how to live their life when I'm still in the process of figuring mine out? And this is a trap that self-doubt certainly gets us into, which is believing that we've got to have our entire lives completely figured out. We've got to be perfect, got to have our shit together before we can even embark on the next thing, whatever it might be. And it's just not true. It's absolutely an ego way of keeping you stuck in your current reality. Nobody has their shit completely together. Nobody has it all figured out. They're just people who look like they are out there taking action, making the small steps, doing what it takes to turn a dream into a reality in spite of the self-doubt. I certainly do believe we get to a place where we have much more confidence in ourselves. You know, as we go through that learning curve, we really start to believe in ourselves more, to trust in ourselves, and to trust in our vision. But there will always be self-doubt. You know, I was listening to a podcast, an interview between Oprah and Michelle Obama, and Michelle Obama still has self-doubt, still has critical thoughts about herself. And you think, well, if she does, then the rest of us are bound to. And so actually the key is to take the action in spite of the feelings of doubt and the thoughts of doubt. And it's only really in taking action that we are ever going to find out whether the thing that we believe is what we're meant to be doing is actually it, or whether there's something else that we're meant to be doing, or whether it looks slightly different. And we also have to trust that Just because we can't see the full path laid out ahead of us doesn't mean we can't take that very first step. You know, I come back to this Joseph Campbell quote, which is, if you can see your path clearly laid out ahead of you, it's not your path, because nobody has ever lived your specific path before. So again, a trap to fall into. Yes, we want clarity about the vision that we want to bring to life, what it is that we want to do. Absolutely, we have to have clarity, but we do not need clarity about every single step. That is where we have to trust in ourselves, trust that we can fly on instruments for a little bit, and trust that the next step and the next step and the next step will appear. And how do we know that? How can we trust that? Well, because this step has appeared for us. And so the next one inevitably will, and the next one inevitably will. And tied to this, I really want to bring to your attention that, again, when you're doubting your desires and the vision that you've been given to bring to life, or the idea that you've had, or the feeling that you have about the work that you're meant to do, or the life that you're meant to be living, maybe it's the country that you're meant to be in, your desires are not random. They were given to you for a reason. They were given to you in order to bring them to life. And again, this all depends on what you believe, but what I believe and what I really feel to be true is that our desires are not random. They are the universe wanting to manifest things into physical reality through us. It's the only way that it can do that. It's us solidifying energy almost and turning it into something tangible. And so if you've got a desire, you've got a dream, you've got something that you're yearning to do, don't dismiss it. Take it seriously, because it's been given to you specifically for a reason, in order to bring it to life, because you are the best person to bring it to life. Again, let's go back to doubting whether you're the right kind of person for whatever it is that you're wanting to do. You wouldn't have been given that desire if you weren't the right kind of person. And what is the right kind of person anyway? Let's talk about that. So, A Course in Miracles says that we are all special and none of us are special. And what that means is we're all on a level playing field. No single one of us is any better or worse than anybody else. This is just ego talk. It's what we've been conditioned to believe by a hierarchical society, patriarchy, whatever, however you want to describe it, that there's some kind of ranking order of, who is the right kind of person and who is the wrong kind of person, who's more special than anybody else. Nobody is more special than anybody else. Nobody has the ability to bring your vision to life and to do what you want to do in life any better than you do, because it's your path. Even if you look at examples like Oprah, always my go-to for inspiration in what she's created and the type of woman that she is. But listening to her speak and learning more about her, she's just acted on every impulse. She's just followed the nudges that she's been given. She's had the courage to do that. And look where it has taken her. No way on earth she could ever, from the beginning, have envisaged creating what she has created. And if she had, it probably would have scared her to death, and perhaps even stopped her taking the next right move. But she just had that inner knowing and the confidence and the self-belief to take the next right step and to take the next right, make the next right move. And you might be thinking, well, okay, there we go. That's what my issue is, self-belief. I lack self-belief. Well, you've got to start building it then. It's not, self-belief is not going to come from sitting on your ass, meditating, and expecting it to all of a sudden magically appear. Don't get me wrong, there is some internal work that we can do. We can learn about ourselves, we can shift some things out of the way using various techniques, but ultimately, self-belief is going to come from actually taking action and gathering the evidence that, oh my God, I did that thing and it worked. And okay, now I'm going to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And gradually you build your self-belief. Many of you will know that I'm a serial career changer. I've gone through many iterations. And part of the reason that I built my last career so quickly and reached where I did at such a young age was because I took opportunities when they were presented to me. And again, if I think about Richard Branson, I'm sure, who said this, that you say yes to the opportunity and figure it out later. The opportunity is being given to you for a reason, take it, and then trust that you're going to figure it out. And that's what I did. Ultimately, I took opportunities that were way above my pay grade, that were things that I had never done before. And I figured it out and built my muscle of recognizing, you know what, generally I figure things out. Generally things are okay, generally. Can be hard work sometimes, maybe a little bit nerve-wracking, but actually the opportunities that I've taken have always worked out pretty damn well. So building that self-belief and that trust in yourself, if that's what you feel is stopping you from bringing your vision to life, you've got to start by taking the smallest action. And let's talk about that. So the vision that we have, again, if we go back to the Oprah scenario, the vision that we've got can feel completely insurmountable sometimes. And that can almost be the thing that's getting in our way, because we can see where we want to go, but we just think, holy moly, that is just so far away. I don't even know where to start. It's going to take me years to get there. So I'm just going to stay doing what I'm doing because it feels a bit less overwhelming and a bit more certain and safe. But, you're going to live those years anyway. So who cares whether it takes you 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is to bring your vision to life. We've got to think about this as a journey for a start, in that we're not just aiming for the destination and we don't care about what happens between now and then. The journey is as much a part of the process as the destination, because that journey could lead us in a slightly different direction. I know for sure I have been taken in slightly off-track directions in my life and trusted it, and it turned out way better than the plan that I had for a start. So that's another reason that having your path all laid out is not such a great plan, because the universe sometimes has a way better idea and we've got to trust. But breaking that vision down into, okay, where do I start today? What's the next small thing that I can do? And okay, if that feels a bit too big and a bit too scary for me right now, what is the teeniest, weeniest little step that I can take that is going to move me towards where I want to be? It could be as simple as researching what you want to do next. Starting to Google. Could be as simple as that. Gathering information. As long as you're not gathering information for years and years and years and learning and learning and learning and not actually doing anything with it. And again, I speak from personal experience there. I have definitely fallen foul of that one. I am a learner and always think I need to learn a little bit more before I'm ready. But actually, implementing what you know now is just as important as learning anything new. So, what is the teeniest, weeniest little step that you could take towards creating what you want to create? What feels just a little bit courageous as well? And this is something else we need to talk about. It takes courage, absolutely takes courage to make a change. If we think about, the human brain, is that saying, isn't there, that we will always choose, or we would rather choose certain misery over uncertain happiness. And this is one of the things that keeps us stuck. We may be utterly miserable doing what we're doing, living the life we're living. It's just not quite right for us, but we know it. It's familiar, we are used to it, it feels safe, and in a way comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable. Quite often, The things that we say are really uncomfortable and we don't like them, we're getting something out of them. Otherwise, we would just make the change and do something different. So have a check-in. Are you in that situation? Are you in that situation of, actually, this is really familiar. It's my known. I'm surrounded by other people who are also living this familiar, miserable reality. And so I feel like I'm part of a tribe here. And if I step out and start moving towards something else, creating the grand vision I have for my life, then I'm going to be out on my own. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm not going to be part of the tribe. All of this stuff is going to come up when you are moving towards a grander version of your life, towards the life that you truly desire. And again, come back to what I was saying earlier, you've got to take action in spite of. In spite of the self-doubt, in spite of the fear that you're going to be abandoned. You know, you may well leave some people behind, but you're going to collect new ones on the way, new ones who are likely to be more aligned with where you want to go in the life that you want to be living. So you've got to trust, you've got to have faith, you've got to take those small actions, you've got to build that belief muscle by, taking action, even the smallest, tiniest action. And it's not necessarily going to be easy or comfortable to do because you're kind of fighting against a lifelong pattern, perhaps, of staying safe, staying small, being really used to being in struggle. You know, sometimes we can be so attached to our stories and our struggle that we don't know who we would be without them. And so we don't want to leave them behind because it feels like stepping out into this abyss, into this emptiness. And again, that's why it does take courage. It takes a little bit of hard work on our part, and it can feel maybe a bit unpleasant. And we think, hang on a minute, I'm trying to create a life that I really love, and yet it's feeling unpleasant. Well, that's because you're doing something new and you're doing something different. It's feeling uncomfortable. So just know that that's normal and to be expected, and almost a good sign that you are on the right track, because if we're permanently comfortable but uncomfortable at the same time, then we know that we're not really growing and we're not really changing. If you think about when you were growing, when you were younger, it hurt, right? At least it did for me. I could feel it in my body. It hurt, growing pains. And this is what we have to go through as we embark on and bring to life whatever vision it is that we have for our lives. So don't expect it to be a nice, easy, comfortable ride. Got to get ready for it to be a little bit uncomfortable, but ultimately the benefits that you're going to get from that are going to far outweigh the discomfort, because you are going to be moving towards a life that is more aligned with who you truly are and what you really desire from your life. And let's talk a little bit about our conditioning and our beliefs and our stories and our identity. Now, I know from my point of view, I had a massive struggle with my identity when I decided in particular to move from the corporate life to becoming a coach. My identity, my persona that I had built up in corporate was the tough nut, hard-nosed corporate woman who was robust and unbreakable, and the universe just had to bring me to my knees in order for me to recognize that I was not. But I needed that. I needed that to happen for me in order for me to embrace and to explore living in a different way, allowing myself to be more emotional, allowing the true me to come forth. It wasn't possible whilst I was living with that identity, but the identity that I was moving into, the real me, felt so far removed from who I'd been before. And I was so attached to the prestige, so to speak, and recognition I got from that previous identity that I found it really, really hard to let go of who I had believed I was. and step into who I really was. And so that can also be something that you might find tricky, especially if, say, you're making a career change and it's a drastic change, or you want to cultivate a truly loving relationship and you never really have before, and so maybe you're a bit embarrassed for people to see the real you without your facade, without your persona. But ultimately then what we're doing is we're living our lives for other people, and that is a recipe for misery if ever there was one. We have to let go of caring about what other people think of us if we want to live the life that we truly desire. We absolutely have to, because if we try and please everybody around us, we are going to end up pleasing nobody, and most especially not ourselves. So it's imperative that we move through whatever people pleasing that we have got going on in order to truly embrace the life that we want to live and step into the identity of who we really are instead of the persona that we've created in the past. And again, it's step by step, moving towards the new. This is the thing, we don't go from one reality to an entirely different reality in one fell swoop. It can take time. It does take time, not necessarily a really, really long time, but actually that time is really, really useful because it enables us to assimilate and to get used to living in a different way. And so let's talk then about stories and beliefs and conditioning. So really, in our society, in the way that we're brought up in the Western world, we are not conditioned to follow our dreams. Although, we see our friends across the pond who talk about the American dream. The American dream is kind of cookie cutter, in my opinion. It's you do this, you follow this path, you tick these boxes, you acquire these possessions, you earn this much money, you have the family, you have the white picket fence, the American dream. But it makes no sense. Like, not every single one of us has the exact freaking same dream. We don't all want that. And so that can be a little bit of a trap. We can end up living an assigned life when actually we want to live in a different way. We want freedom, and it's about recognizing that the desires that we have for living in a different way are more important than the prestige, the material possessions, than fitting in. Actually, to my desire for freedom and for excitement, fulfilling that has a greater impact on my happiness and my well-being than whatever material possessions I can buy. Don't get me wrong. I love my things, I love clothes, I love being able to buy whatever I want to buy. But ultimately, without having the freedom and the excitement in my life that I also want, it's kind of a little bit empty. Those things alone are not going to bring me happiness. And so we have to get really clear that, the fact that we've been conditioned to not follow our dreams, to follow the crowd, to be one of the masses, because, hey, realistically, we are way more easy to control when we think like the rest of the world does, when lots and lots of us all think the same way and behave the same way and are controlled by the same things, like fear, for instance. So much easier to control as a society that way. So if you want to live your dream and do something different, you've got to break out of that conditioning and really start to believe that you were put here in order to bring your desires to life, in order to live the life you truly desire, not to live an assigned life, not to settle for what you don't really want, instead of going for what you do really want, because you may have been conditioned to believe that it's not possible for you. It's really hard. Again, it's conditioning, it's not the truth. We have to almost lift that veil, break out of that hypnotic state, and realize that we can go for what we want. And this is where our beliefs and stories, some of them will align with what we've been conditioned to believe by society, by our parents, by our families. Again, if you are treading a path that nobody in your family or your immediate circle of friends has ever trodden before, that can be a real challenge. I know that what I am bringing into the world, what I'm doing, the way I'm living is vastly different from how my whole family and most of my friends live. And so that is part of why I found it so difficult, because I'm surrounded by people who are living in a completely different way, and I'm the one who's leaving the tribe, so to speak, who's doing things in a different way. So it can be really tough, but again, we've got to recognize that we're not here to live according to somebody else's desires and according to somebody else's plan. We're here to live what we want to live. So have a think about, are there stories and beliefs that are keeping you from taking the action you need to take in order to move towards your desires? Do you think, oh, it's just unrealistic? What I'm trying to create, I'm too old to start again. It's just not going to be possible for me. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really difficult. I mean, let's talk about this. Okay, so I 100% agree that some things are not going to be possible for us. Like if I said right now, age 40, I want to become the next prima ballerina of the Royal Ballet. Highly, highly unlikely that that is going to happen. I'm just putting it out there based on the body shape that you need to have to be a prima ballerina, the fact that I'm 40 years old, the fact that I would have to go back and train, it's highly unlikely. But then I have to examine, is that really what I want? Why do I want that? What feeling is that going to bring me that I could get from something else? Again, let's take a really, really silly example. If you said to me, I want to be the next gorilla at London Zoo, I mean, maybe, get yourself a good costume. It could work for you. I don't know. But it's unlikely that that is going to happen. But aside from those real outlying examples of things that are really, really tricky, most things are possible. Most things are possible. And again, let me take you back to that example of Oprah. Look at her upbringing, where she came from, her start in life. Most people would have said that what she's created was impossible based on where she started. But we can see that that is just not true. And she created it step by step by step by step by taking the small action and the next action and the next action and the next action. And so the same is true for you. So challenge yourself. Really, how unrealistic is that? Especially in the world that we live in right now. We have, as much as it might not seem like it, as we're in the midst of COVID currently, whilst I record this, we have so much opportunity at our fingertips. There is very little that is not available to us if we really want it. And again, I think I've said this on one of my previous podcasts. If you really are struggling to bring your vision to life, the question to ask is, okay, I say I want this, but how willing am I to do what it takes to actually make this happen and to bring it to life? How willing am I to do the necessary, to learn whatever I need to learn, to implement whatever I need to implement? And sometimes that can be the thing that is stopping you from bringing your vision to life. Maybe you are just not willing to go through the discomfort, to do what it takes. And that is okay. But you've got to admit it and you've got to accept it. That actually, I say I want this, but I'm really not willing. It's not that important to me that I am willing to do what it takes in order to make it happen. So a really key question for you to ask yourself. And I think the next thing I want to talk about really is about examining your behaviors. If you want something different, you have to do something different. It's really quite simple. Again, the theme of this episode is all about action and how that is the thing that's going to carry you towards your vision coming to life. You have to stay connected to your vision as well, which I will talk about shortly. But have a look at the choices you're making on a daily basis. Do they align more with you staying where you are or with where you want to go? Have a look at the people that you're hanging around with and the conversations that you're having and the thoughts that you're allowing to run through your head. So often we are on autopilot with these things, and we have to break that autopilot. We have to start doing things differently. We have to start thinking different thoughts. We have to change small habits. So I always bring it back to, health and fitness example. I knew that I wanted to get myself back into a really good place energetically, because whilst I am continuing to do a little bit of corporate work and create this business alongside, that's going to require my full energy. And so I started making small tweaks. Okay, I'm going to start going out for a walk first thing in the morning, which means I need to get up a little bit earlier. And then, I'm actually going to start doing my workouts first thing in the morning, and I want to do some meditation. And I didn't do it all in one go, but I gradually started making different choices. And again, with my food, when I eat that, when I drink that, it makes me feel this way. And I don't want to feel that way. Okay, so I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take one thing out of my diet and see what impact that has on me. I'm going to add in way more vegetables and fruit than I was eating before. Tiny tweaks. And doing something differently can be getting the help that you need. I think I've mentioned this. I know I've mentioned this on previous podcasts. I have a team. I have my nutritionist who I go to and say, right, look, I want things to be different. I want to feel a different way. What do we need to do? Okay, give me the instructions. I will follow the instructions. And this is the thing as well. Can't just be going to somebody and getting the help and not doing the do. We have to take the action. We have to do something different if we want to see different results. So think about that. Think about what choices are you making on a daily basis? What decisions are you making on a daily basis that perhaps need to change in order to move you towards where you want to go, instead of keeping you stuck where you currently are? What excuses are you making? Are you in the I'm too tired camp, I don't have enough time camp? Most of the time when we say we don't have enough time, it is actually a statement that we are not prioritizing whatever it is we say we don't have the time for. Harsh, but true. And again, it comes back to, what are you willing to do? And granted, we only have a certain amount of time in each day. But we need to, and because of that, I should say, we need to get really deliberate about how we are using our time. Are we spending our time on things that light us up, on things that we really want to spend our time on? Or are we frittering the time away? Are we numbing? Are we doing things to avoid doing the thing that feels really uncomfortable because it's new and different and scary, and we just don't quite know how it's going to turn out? And that can be another biggie. Because we can't see that full path ahead of us, and we have no idea that our actions are going to lead us in the right direction, we do nothing. But ultimately, doing nothing is going to get you exactly the same as you've always got. And so again, it comes back to, do you have the courage, do you have the faith to take different actions and trust that is going to lead to different results, because it has to. But what you need to remember, as well as taking the action, is aligning your thoughts and your energy with that action. So I can sit here and do outreach to clients and think, it's a waste of time. No one's going to respond. And that is the energy that I am putting out there when I'm sending out those messages. So what do you think I'm going to get back? I'm going to get back exactly the same energy that I'm putting out there. And so it's really important that you get clear on your energy and how you want to feel as you move towards your vision, and keep your vision in mind in order to help you feel the right way. So get into the energy and excitement of your vision and that new thing that you want to create. Excitement and fear can be very, very closely linked. So just spend 10 minutes a day visualizing, getting into that feeling of this is what I want to create, and it's going to be so exciting, and it's going to be amazing, and all the good things. And do your very best to tap into that energy when you find yourself doubting yourself, or when you're taking the action that you know is going to move you in the right direction. Make sure you're in that energy, because that's the energy that is going to bring the aligned opportunities to you, bring the aligned people to you. Again, maybe think about it in a dating scenario. If you get online and think, oh my goodness, dating sites are just full of mutants, like, oh, I'm never going to meet anybody. Do you think it's going to work? What result do you think you're going to get? I think you might get some messages from people that you don't particularly find attractive, and you're probably never going to meet anybody, because that is the energy that you've gone into it with. So it's really important to stay connected to your vision, not only for inspiration, but in order to make sure you're in the right energy when you are taking whatever action it is that you need to take. And I think the final thing really to share with you today is about taking that action, is the practicality. So you might be thinking, oh my goodness, this is all just a load of fluffy waffle that's been going on. But that's because 80% of what's getting in our way more often than not is fluffy waffle. It's the beliefs, it's the stories, it's the fears, it's the conditioning. It's not actually anything physical or tangible that's stopping us from doing what we want to do. That's quite rare. But when it comes to physical, practical, tangible things, let's have a think about it. So let's say we're talking career change maybe. If money is the thing that is blocking you from taking that next step, from making that leap, get really clear on your exact financial position. This is something that I work on with my clients. Let's do your balance sheet. Where do you currently stand? What money do you have where? How much do you need to live off? Is there any expenses that you could cut so that you could be living off less? What are you willing to do as regards? Are you willing to remortgage? Are you willing to sell your home? Drastic measures maybe. But for me, I'm willing to do that. That's not really a big issue for me. Because I had faith in my vision and in myself. And so with finances, if maybe you need to work with someone to help you figure that out, but get clear on your balance sheet. What's in there? What money do you need coming in? Okay, does that mean that I can drop to part-time maybe? Does it mean I need to keep working full-time and tighten my belt a little bit in order to put some money aside? Or do I already actually have the money I need in order to make this leap? Or can I start making some money on the side whilst I'm still working my current job, and then I'm going to be able to make the transition? You've got to know, you've got to kind of face up to the practical things in order to be able to take the next step. Maybe again, if we think about researching a new career, diving in. So for instance, take my example of when I qualified as an accountant. Okay, let me find out what it takes to qualify as an accountant. Okay, you do this qualification. I can do it at the same time as working. Okay, great. Next step. Will my employer fund my qualification? Let me go and ask. Yes, they will fund it. Great. Get the ball rolling. Which colleges? Which is the nearest college that enables me to study this qualification? And step by step by step, you get the ball rolling. You take those practical steps, whatever it is. Again, let's talk about dating. Dating, okay, step number 1. Which website do I want to get myself on if I'm going to do online dating? Which, let's face it, is currently all that's available to us in COVID. I'm going to choose it. Right, okay. How much does it cost? Which one am I going to choose based on cost? What am I going to put in my profile? Which photos am I going to use? All of these things. Maybe do I feel like I need a little bit of coaching around relationships and some of my beliefs before I take that step? Maybe, maybe not. How long am I going to give myself before I come off the website? what type of profile am I going to respond to? All of these things, we can figure them out. Same again with energy and well-being. Okay, how am I feeling right now? How do I want to feel? Do I have the skills and the tools to get there myself, or do I need to engage somebody to help me with this? Okay, I need to engage somebody. Right, where do I find that person? Can I get recommendations from somewhere? Google, find the person, speak to the person, have a discovery call with them or contact them, inquire, how much is it going to cost? How much of my time is it going to take? There's so much that you can actually do practically, that you can break down into small steps that are going to move you in the right direction. That the practical stuff, honestly, is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what's holding us back from making whatever change it is we want to make. It is, as I said, the rest of the iceberg hidden beneath the water, which is your beliefs, your stories, your conditioning, that are stopping you from making that change. So you've got to become aware of all of those things. Maybe you need to work with somebody to get that awareness of, okay, what's really holding me back here? Why am I not doing this thing that I say I really want to do? And maybe you need someone to hold you accountable as well from taking the action. And then you've got to have the courage to take that action, even the smallest, teeniest, weeniest. And again, based on my personal training qualification, one of the things we talk about there is process goals. These daily small tasks are the things that are going to move you towards where you want to be. And also we talk about how if you're not 90% confident you can achieve something, you need to make it easier. Because especially at the beginning, it's really important to build that muscle, to build your confidence in yourself, that you can achieve this, that you can make changes, you can create the different life that you want to create. And so starting really small with really bite-sized, achievable tasks, I would say even, not even goals, is imperative, and building the evidence of the positive results that you get and the synchronicities that start to happen. That's really, really important to do as well. And finally, I know I said and finally before, but this is just how my brain works. Ask yourself a few questions. What is the worst that can happen? In most cases, the worst that can happen, especially when you're just taking that first step, is not actually that bad. Really, it's your ego building these things out of all proportion in order to stop you from taking the action. So what's the worst that can happen? Also, what is the best that could happen? We don't ask ourselves that question. We don't sit in the possibility of the best outcome of whatever action it is that we're going to take. What is the best, most exciting thing that could possibly happen? And then also ask yourself, what will happen if I do nothing? If I take no action, if I make no changes, what is going to happen? And you might say, well, nothing, I'll just stay the same. But in some instances, you might even be able to say, do you know what? If I do nothing about this, actually, my happiness, my well-being are going to just suffer and suffer and suffer until the point at which, I don't really know, actually, perhaps I could get myself into a right pickle, into a situation that I really don't want to be in. And I have been there, let me tell you. Honestly, staying in my corporate role that I was in previously for far too long because I didn't believe that there was another way of me escaping had such a significant detrimental impact on my well-being that it took me, I would say, 3, if not 4 years to put myself back into a good place, from building back my confidence in myself to getting my physical well-being back into a good place. I'm still working on that, so please do not let that happen to you. This is partly why I do the work I do, because I want to prevent rather than cure. I want to share my own experiences so that you don't find yourself getting to that point of just damaging your health and your well-being so much by staying in something and by not making the changes that you need to make. So please use my example as a lesson of what not to do. And yeah, like I said, what is the worst that can happen if you take that next step? Really, often our fears are not realized. If you're worried you're going to be humiliated, embarrassed, people are going to think this about you or that about you, let it go. It's a story, it's not the truth. And honestly, who freaking cares at the end of the day? It's not their life, it's your life. And it's your dream and it's your vision. And it's not really anybody else's business. So, another episode full of hopefully inspiring and insightful things for you to take away and for you to put into action in your own life. And if you are needing a little bit more guidance on how to find your purpose and how to bring it to life, then I have a free download that you can get by going to the link in the show notes, and you can download a free PDF. It will guide you through a series of questions that's going to get you back in touch with who you are, what you really want, and how to bring it to life. And of course, if you feel like you need further help with that, then I am always available. This is what I do. This is what I'm here for, is to help other people bring their dreams and their visions to life and step into the purpose, the life of meaning and purpose that they really want to be living. So please send me an email, get in touch via social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and let's talk about how we can start bringing your vision to life and enabling you to make the change that you want to make in your life. So, with all of that being said, I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing today. And here is to you living the most meaningful, joyful, purposeful, passionate, lit up life possible for you. I'll see you next time for the next episode of the Live on Purpose show.